Alex O'Neill.
Hi, Mike.
We're just chilling on Europa.
Yeah. Nice little freezy sled here that we've got.
Yeah, I got my goblet. We're definitely
Chill vibes.
we're definitely not on this obelisk of evil intent.
No, it's
You know,
neutral intent.
yeah, it's like, there's nothing creepy about this weird effect going on whenever I get near it.
Yeah, not at all. It's all comes up good on Europa. I think.
Yeah, it's all good here on Europa. Here in the newest Destiny expansion that we're going to take a look at. So, namely, what we're going to do, if you checked out our recent viewpoints for Avengers, we kind of more focused on the Endgame aspect of Avengers, and that we're going to do a similar thing here with Destiny 2. Because as of recording this, the raid came out a couple days before this, and kind of like with the last couple of Destiny expansions, the raid came out. A team completed the raid and got the world's first, and then some stuff opened up for the rest of everybody due to the events of the raid. So we're gonna take a look at some.
So, I would say even this time around.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff. It's very, if you're familiar with like, I think everyone's kind of, at least a lot of it, like when I look around in the Destiny community, everyone is really into Forsaken, rightfully so, because there's a lot of cool stuff in that. This feels like kind of them kind of doing that again to an extent, but but in the context of like here on Europa and like the history of it in Destiny's lore is that like it was once a big tech breakthrough for humanity. All this research was here, but some of it was actually kind of dark and evil. And these are where the robot people, if you're familiar with like Destiny people, there's like the robots called Exos. This is the planet they were created on. So there's a bunch of stuff like you know in the lore now from this world that you're kind of learning about. But
it's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of really, really cool stuff. It's definitely some of the coolest stuff they've revealed in Destiny's history in a while.
I was gonna say to you, because we've like not had a chance to talk about Destiny at all, which is a bummer, but prepare everyone listening.
This is gonna be a beefy one.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a lot about Destiny.
We're talking about a lot about Destiny, and like I want to run to the tower real quick just to like show some things for like newer people maybe.
Sure.
Before we're like into deep end with the Europa stuff. So I'll jump to the tower real quick.
But what I wanted to say was like, and I'm not gonna say like the in MMOs, right? I think there's a lot of games that when I think of other RPGs, like the fundamental races have like kind of like history that you can pull from in a way that like when you select that race, it's like, oh, like you're kind of taking on these inherent characteristics. And I think Destiny, the Awoken have obviously only been the race that has been explored a lot, and there's been some really cool hints at the Exos, but what they do
they kind of just opened up the proverbial can of worms of like
the
history of the robot people, like what like some of them are actually fully capable of, and there's a lot of stuff. It's really cool.
It adds like a gravity to the choice of like choosing to be an Exo. I think like there's something substantial there now, and I think that's really cool.
100%.
Even if like all Guardians are technically zombies and the same or whatever.
They're kind of resurrected humans and
the fun out of it.
But
there's still really inherently cool stuff there.
Yeah, and I think they explore a lot of that in this expansion, and even like the season that has started, the season of the hunt.
Yeah,
you're kind of seeing. I would say one of the first times they've really, outside of some of your player character stuff in the very first Destiny, and then kind of exploring, being like, if you're not aware, when you become a Guardian, you're essentially, your memory is wiped more or less of the world and person you were before, because you were like essentially dead prior to that. You're basically being like resurrected back to life, and then you're given all the powers that a Guardian's given. There's a character that's a part of the lore and all the world and stuff in Forsaken, namely that was brought back to life as a guardian, Aldrin Solve, and he is now the Crow, and that basically happened to him where he dies in Forsaken, and then this season they have finally kind of picked that thread back up, because at the end of the Forsaken, I think it was the season, because now how they do like more seasonal stuff, they showed a cutscene where Aldrin himself was resurrected by a ghost, so he became a guardian as now the Crow, and he does not know that he did all of the horrible things he did to guardians, and the like impacted all the impact he has. So you're kind of seeing people react to him being back in the world, like, but he doesn't know. He doesn't realize like or has context of like what that means, him being back in the world.
He's the brother of like the Queen of the Awoken. He has no idea, you know.
Yeah,
like that means nothing to him. And I'm very curious, because Mara Sov will certainly come back in the story at some point. Like what's going to happen, you know?
Yeah,
like it's really cool.
Yeah, and they've already done a little bit of that thread. I won't show off too much. There's not like a lot to it really yet, but like you can go to the Dreaming City if you have the Forsaken. I don't think you need Forsaken still, but you need Forsaken to play the campaign. But you can go to the zone if you're just a free to play player. That's how it works now. But you can go there to talk to Petra, and she will have like a little thing this season that's like, you know, it's just like you know, her usual vendor stance, but she'll like give you like a little like block of text that's like, hey, I heard the spiders, you're working with the spider again, and he has somebody with him, but I don't really know much about it. So like, she's clearly like aware that this person exists, but she does not know who the person is.
Who it is, yeah. Right.
And then there's like another thing where when you all the seasons have these artifacts, these seasonal artifacts. The Fang of Shivu Arath is the one for this season. Where you go pick that up is in Zavala's office, which is like a new little area on the tower, which you can go to once this elevator comes back up.
Someday. I usually just go down.
Yeah, you can kind of just drop down. Of course, it comes up when I get back down here.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, here it comes anyway.
I like that this is a very jerry-rigged lift. Also,
it's very jerry-rigged. Yeah, you can come in here. If you go to this terminal, you can listen to these kind of little audio logs of Cyrus talking. And there's a whole lot of these, and this kind of gives you like a prelude to kind of what the stuff you're doing in the current season, which is going on these hunts for monster like hive and stuff.
Yeah.
He kind of gives you the context of like, oh, these are, I was researching like, you know, all of these events that happened happened last season and before Beyond Light, and that led us to here. But if you go all the way through those, you get one from Marsov that's like, hey, I'm sorry I've been away for so long, yada yada, I'm coming back. More or less is like kind of like the basic gist of it.
Because you know, confirmation. That was me like just theorizing to myself, and it's good to know. Like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, like they're definitely sowing some seeds for a lot of probably the coming seasons. And
yeah, you I think you threw it out there because like you've obviously been so keened into where the lore's going, and where the seasonal stories have been going because you've been playing so much this year.
Yeah,
of how like there really feels like they're built into like their Avengers moment, and it
yes. 100%.
It's fun because like right now if you've familiar with the characters of Destiny at all, I do think you need to have a little bit of that investment, but like we're getting all this drama, there's just so much like interaction between characters, and for me, like thinking back to like OG Destiny, like the most interaction is like back and forth between Zavala and Cade 6 on the fucking intercom, and now it's like it feels like real like tangible character growth is happening in drama and stuff. Like everything with Zavala through the campaign in this season is so good. And
yeah, because you're kind of dealing with him being like he still is
super skeptical
because not to go too, I don't want to full on spoil all the Beyond Light main story stuff, but you get
darkness powers.
I have the darkness powers. and that is like a big theme of this, of you kind of like embracing the dark to the point where like even your ghost who you have with you is like he is kind of, or he, I think it's he for everybody. I don't think you can have a female ghost.
Always Nolan North.
Yeah, it's Nolan North. Yeah, he basically starts questioning like, hey, I don't know if I trust.
Is this a good idea?
Is this a good idea for you to have these powers? And he kind of slowly comes around to it.
That's such a great. There's a lot of great character stuff. Like Ghost having so much substantial character growth in this campaign, I actually really liked.
Yeah,
like, one of the messages I sent you of like he gets nice and fun. He very much like cuts up and loosens up, and like starts doing impressions and having fun in some of the campaign, and it's really fun.
They definitely gave him much more of a character instead of the. I'm just gonna give you a brief dialogue of the mission, you know. I feel like even in some of the some of the strikes that are still like older strikes, there are a lot of
new dialogue. Yeah,
new dialogue for stuff, and he's a lot more of a character in that, which I like.
Awesome,
But yeah, I'll start here with some of the systems, because I did want to go over just like a couple things for potential people who might look at this and be like, I still have little idea of what a Destiny is, or I may be interested in jumping in. One, it's free to play. It's still free to play. I will say that, you know, with this expansion, they gutted a lot of the game, because that's like essentially what Bungie's plan is to kind of sort of do, like, it sort of feels like a soft reboot in some senses of like they kept a lot of major components intact, but they took out a lot of the old content that basically came with the original Destiny, and some other stuff that was came out a little bit after that, to essentially kind of make sure they can kind of start building the game to a more modern sense, and also so it's not this massive, 100 million gig game like something like Call of Duty is. So
down to 60 gigs on PS5. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Yeah, and it feels a lot snappier, and you can definitely tell that by a lot of the stuff on Europa. But in that sense, a lot of the stuff they took out was the free to play content for the game originally. So like if you're jumping in free to play, you still can, and there's like a new player experience they're calling, like, it's like a new single player experience. They brought back the Cosmodrome, or at least part of it from base Destiny 1, and you essentially kind of replay a little bit of Destiny 1, the original campaign. Like the very first mission is like pretty much one for one that mission. Yeah. And then after that mission, you meet the new vendor there, and he has his own story that kind of goes into the strike that is kind of like a redux of a strike from Destiny 1.
Nice.
And then they kind of just run you through they do a good job of, like, I think balancing, like, hey, there is like a story and some cinematic stuff in Destiny, but it's also trying to be an MMO. Like, I think they're leaning more and more into that MMO style thing since Shadowkeep and the seasonal content that has come past Shadowkeep and now into Beyond Light and the future. I think they're leaning more into that stuff. And I think they did a good job of kind of showing that in that New Light experience. They did play through it.
Okay. I was wondering, I kind of want to play through it myself, but I don't want to necessarily delete any of my characters. So,
so that's the thing. You do not have to delete a character.
I've seen the mission thing over here.
Yes, you can pick it from here. This is actually the character I did it on, so it might not actually be here. But basically, here you go. New Light campaign. Okay, yeah, it's not there because I already did it on this character. Basically, this just gives you, like, if there are quests or things, like here's some moon quests. It would be under this for the New Light experience.
Yeah, I saw it in there. I checked this, but I didn't know how, like, it worked necessarily. Like,
yeah, you can basically just pick that mission, and then it'll give you a big icon. Like, you pick it up, and then it gives you a big icon here, and you go here, and you just start it, and you can play through it.
Cool. Does it let you do the strike stuff as well?
Yes, it basically just, because the strike thing is kind of like, it's kind of like how it works in Beyond Light, and they've done in Destiny before, where it's just like a mission you do. Like you kind of do an initial mission, and then you do a second mission that kind of is like meeting the new guy Shao Han, and you kind of learn his backstory of like why he's there in the Cosmodrome. And then it kind of lets you loose into the Cosmodrome and like kind of gives you like basic objectives of like, hey, do some bounties. Hey, go check out a public event. Hey, there's like lost sectors. It kind of just gives you like the basics of like what are these things in on a location more or less. And then it leads you into doing a strike. Like it shows you how to like, hey, go to the strike playlist, and it puts you in like a special instance of that new like the redone Cosmodrome strike. And it's probably like three maybe like 3.5 hours, 4 hours. If you
cool.
if you know what you're doing, you can get there pretty quick. Once you do that, then it brings you here to the tower, and then it kind of leads you to all the different like vendors. Like, hey, talk to Zavala and talk to these, and your ghost is just moderating of like, hey, this is this guy, and they kind of give you like a little history lesson of like, hey, here's there was a Hunter Vanguard and stuff happened to him, and they kind of give you this. Then they give you like some basic, like I already did the strike one, but then they give you like these light reforged quests where you're basically doing different steps of like, hey, here, do this in Crucible and do this in Gambit, and it's
cool.
It's much nicer than what it was before, where it was literally the first
that mission and then nothing else.
Yes, it was the first. Basically, you just did the first mission of Destiny, and then you did nothing else.
Yeah.
So it's a nice. I would definitely say it's a much nicer onboarding experience. But once you do that stuff, you're in free to play mode, and you can do like, I think you can do Crucible, and I think you can do Gambit, and you can do some strikes, but you don't have all of the strikes depending on what the expansions you have. So there's definitely like a much smaller amount of content for you to do. But I will say, with that content being away, like, with that kiosk where you can kind of pick up some missions, I think if you're a new player, you really won't have anything. But one thing is this here, the exotic archive, which is really cool. So basically, now all of the guns and like some of the weapons that were kind of in that like removed sunset content that had like some missions tied to it, or the planets you had to go to get them, now are just gone. You can go into here and now get these weapons of any kind. So like, here's all the exotics from the first year of Destiny. That even includes like raid exotics. But you can see like there's special currencies for raid stuff of the exotic cipher and the spoils of conquest. The exotic ciphers, they give some away in the seasonal pass kind of track, because there's like a like a season pass, battle pass thing in Destiny 2.
Yeah.
But also now if you go to Zur every week, where he shows up, like it's like still like Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, and I think Mondays before reset. He has a new mission now where you can basically attain one of those ciphers. So actually, it's on one of my other characters, so I don't have it. But actually, what it does is you basically just have that mission, and for me, it was like just like do like 20 strikes throughout a week, and then I just did those strikes. Now I can just go to him and get an exotic cipher from him whenever I want and turn that in. So
slowly complete your exotic collection.
Yes, I'm definitely slowly completing this collection. I already had a bunch of this stuff going in. But Izanagi's Burden is one I really want to go for.
Izanagi's Burden, dude.
Yeah.
I was so pissed, man.
Yeah.
I should have just played a couple more forges and I would have had it. But
yep. So but there's a lot of guns in here. I would say, like, just from a beginner perspective, if you like, if you're coming in brand new, you'll see all these guns and you'll have like kind of like, what in the world should I even get? The ones I recommend the most that are probably easier to get are this one here, Ariana's Vow, because it has built-in shield piercing. As you can see, it has the icons and stuff for that, and that is really good for endgame content. So you don't have to worry about like modding in for like anti-barrier stuff. It just has it on there. So that's really good. There's like other stuff like Anarchy, but that's behind like the raid currency, so you still need to do some raid stuff. But if you can get that, like, Anarchy is, I think, still like one of the best guns in the game, period. Or it's a grenade launcher, but still.
So Spoils of Conquest you can only get from raids?
Yeah, Spoil of Conquest you can only get from raids. So you can see I only have 30, so it seems like I only got that 30 from cheesing one of the I figured out a way to cheese and get to the in the newest raid that just came out. There's a secret chest you can get to before you get to any of the encounters, actual encounters. So I just went to that chest, and that was like just like a side chest that only gave you 10. I just did on my 3 characters to do it. Nice. So if you do a full raid, you'll probably end up with more than 30, but it definitely seems like a thing you got to work towards for sure.
That's cool. I didn't know about that for raid weapons. So
yeah, and there's other thing, and then this is kind of like one of the talking points of like their sunsetting of stuff.
Yeah, the Bummerville over here.
Yeah, because there is legacy. There is some of these guns that were like from like you can see they came from like Strikes before and like Gambit and Crucible, but as you can see that little gray mark in the top means they have been sunsetted. So that means that they can't go over this 1060 power threshold. That means they will pretty much always be 1060. They can be used in things like I think like Crucible and Gambit, but like if the power level is over that for an activity, like these guns are just not going to be useful at all. And you can see there's a few that aren't grayed out, so there's still some, but they're not going to last too long because that one's 1260. That means after the season in February, these guns are done too. Because I think the next season it's in February, I believe.
Yeah, and I think that's just because they were from last season, right? They were from
exactly. So you could pick up this sidearm, but then it will be, you know, if you don't plan on sticking with Destiny for forever. There's Shrek 2 2004 HD. There's I'm on PC, so you're gonna see probably a lot of weird names like
best
that.
Names ever in any video game.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
I want
to
believe that this is what all these actual Guardians go by too. Like, this Shrek 2.
Shrek 2 DVD. He has found the darkness and started wielding it. It's wild.
That wacky motherfucker knows how to stasis like anybody.
Yeah,
you know,
it's pretty like, crazy. Yeah, I know. I like to think of that sometimes too. Man, King Crimson took down a hive god. That was crazy, right? That one
Did you know the 23rd Goku 69 took down another hive god?
It's pretty silly here on PC. I like Starbucks 69. I like Starbucks.
His level is 69. He can never play again.
Yep, exactly. Just turn it off now.
What's your level, Mike? Or do you want to shame you real quick?
I'm 104, I'm 104. So I've already finished out the seasonal rank tier.
Just 2 weeks.
Hell yeah.
Do you remember off the top of your head the level that you got to in Arrivals?
It was in the 300s. I can look it up. I think I can look that up. I forget what it's under though. I think maybe it's under this.
I'm level like 23 and I'm pretty proud of myself, to be honest.
Yeah, man. Good work.
I only got to like 18 last season. So.
Yeah, here we go.
I got to 90 in the first time they did the season pass. So.
Yeah, I was trying to look. Oh yeah, here we go. So there's Season of Undying. Yeah, 381. Season of Undying rank. That was the season where the Shadowkeep came out, and I got to 84. Yep. Then you can see I quickly came off.
Nobody played Season of the Dawn.
Yeah, that was 11. And then there was one season after that I did not play at all, and then Season of Rowls when I came back in. And that was kind of when they revealed Beyond Light, and they basically were like, hey, a lot of this content we're just going to take out. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go try and play all this now because I have a lot of free time because of the world we're currently situated in. But anyway, that's kind of a general sense. I feel like I was rambling a bit for the thing, but there I would just say for new players, there's totally stuff to do. Let's actually go do some stuff so we're not just rambling in the tower now.
Yeah, no, it's all right. There's a lot of groundwork to cover, especially like for Endgame, Like...
Yeah, because I was about to say now we're going to Europa, and I'm going to explain a bunch of more stuff. Because basically,
it's funny, like just to like to say, because like I feel like there's a lot to do in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's very grindy, like you would imagine from Destiny, but
yes, yeah.
I have like I've been doing so many of like these other things I can do that like I haven't really gotten my level as high as I could be, but like I'm still making progress, and I feel like I'm still getting things that are useful and whatnot.
Yeah, because that's what I would say is like the one big thing is like Europa feels like its own little like they did a really good job of making Europa feel like its own little condensed zone to like you can do very specific things here and work towards very specific things. And I really like that.
Yeah, there's a lot to do on your. I spend most of my time there, and it helps that it's like enormous and there's plenty of places
it's
to go.
easily the biggest zone. The main thing I think that comes with is Varric's here. He has like I think kind of the bulk of stuff to do.
Yeah,
In some regards, because like a lot of the other stuff with like the Exo Stranger who we'll go see, like her stuff is kind of more story focused. But there is still a decent amount of stuff to do there. So his main thing is the sabotage things that open up after. So after the main campaign, after the main campaign, you get the sabotage where you basically start working with Varrix to more or less stop the remaining fallen who have gotten power. They've gotten their own darkness stasis powers, and you're kind of trying to help dismantle that by doing these empire hunts, which are like kind of like these little mini activities where you go fight these bosses. As you can see, since it's the start, I've already gotten all of these done.
Oh wow!
Boom!
I'm like halfway through, I think.
Yeah, because they only had initial I think like the first when Beyond Light first launched, I think you can only do
4 of them.
Yeah, you can only do like the first 5 or 6. Also to be aware that these are account wide. So as long as you do them on one character, and if you have multiple characters, it's something a lot of people do that sometimes in Destiny. It tracks it for all of them. So like once you do one, you're like done with it. You don't have to do it with every character. But as you can see, these unlock a whole bunch of stuff. Like these bottom tier ones are like hey, doing an Empire hunt will guarantee you like this better tier of armor. That makes the armor even better. The Exo Challenges are one of the new things that opened up after the raid. I did this, and that made it so I get a pinnacle tier reward from doing that challenge. And there you go. Here's like making more Empire Hunt not cost currency.
Yeah, these are super clutch. I feel like to do early on. That's why I've been spending so much time on Europa.
Yeah, because
those things.
Yeah, because that's the main thing. Because like when you kind of first start doing these Empire Hunts. As you can see, from these down here, they will also cost a currency that you can only get on Europa.
Yeah.
Which are these Herald's Away pieces. But once you get a few of those upgrades, it starts costing less. But also you just unlock this here, which is basically it unlocks a weekly version of this Empire Hunt. So basically it just goes through the 3, and it doesn't cost any of those Haraway pieces, and it kind of treats it almost like a Nightfall Strike, where you see if I pick it now I can choose a difficulty tier, and as you can see there's the rewards. Most notably, Cloud Strike is only available, which is a new exotic weapon in this expansion. You can only get it through this version of the Empire Hunt. It's like a sniper rifle that is basically like when you get headshots with it, it makes like a lightning bolt storm kind of appear where you do like a headshot. That's what I've heard it does. It's pretty cool. But as you can see, if you once you unlock these, you can pick these, and then it basically just becomes like a launching into like a Nightfall Strike, and it'll party you up with 2 other people, and then you run that thing, and you can see like the other sabotage things also got better tier rewards for that as well. Like it starts with like a powerful reward, and then when I got one of the upgrades, it made a pinnacle there too for doing it on more difficulties. So there's a lot of stuff like that. So you're totally right. Like I definitely recommend doing a bunch of his challenges, because then that just makes everything
rewards more and is a little bit easier to get to.
Yes, yeah. So that's definitely one of the main things to do. Once you beat the Beyond Light campaign, he'll open that sabotage kind of menu you can go into when you talk to him and do those. So I definitely recommend doing those. Other things that unlock once you complete these lost sectors for the first time, you'll see you get these Legend and Master lost sectors, and these change daily. So like as you can see, I conveniently have 2 on the on Europa, but they can also be on the Cosmodrome too. And you can see there I have the modifiers. And there's also barrier and overload champions, which is like a endgame Destiny thing where like there's special enemies where they can if you do a certain amount of damage to him, he'll get a barrier and start regenning his health. To combat that, there'll be particular weapons that you can use that get like anti-barrier rounds, or use mods to slot it in, or use a mod to like make your grenade like do overload damage or whatever, to basically like stun them, and then you can do damage to them. They're basically just like way more difficult enemies at the end of the day.
Yeah, that you have to be kind of specced and ready for.
Yes, yeah, and there's like a few other like those also start appearing in the higher difficulties of this. Like that's like the same thing where you see if I go to hero difficulty, it adds overload overload and barrier champions. It's the same thing in like Nightfall Strikes, and some there are also stuff in the raid. There's also some in the raid as well. And I would say if you're looking for the new exotic armor for this expansion that they added, they can only be gotten from these as well, from these Legend and Master Lost Sectors. I think each class got 2 new pieces of armor. I think they all got like helmets, and they all got gauntlets. Like those are like the new ones. So I think I only have one of them, and that's on my hunter. I've not done too many of those because I've been doing other stuff.
Helmet on the hunter?
Yeah, I got the Mask of Bacchus. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It lets you kind of lets you, instead of like that mask in particular takes the hunter's dodge, which is one of his basic abilities. Instead, you can kind of like teleport around with it.
God, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The other thing that I already did this once, but this is another one where it's these are the Exo Challenges. This is another weekly changing thing, where now it's simulation agility, and it's kind of like this. They're kind of like for people who are aware of Destiny stuff. If you played Forsaken and did Ascendant challenges, they're kind of just Ascendant challenges, but in the context.
Also remind me of the beginning part of the Crota raid.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Not really, but there's definitely some platforming stuff, and it's like a lot of this one for sure is definitely like more like kind of, it's called agility because you kind of have to be you're kind of platforming and moving around quickly while like fighting stuff.
There's cool, like the one that I did, you have to like stay by a fire because you're on Europa, and you have to warm yourself, and you'll if you're in the cold you get debuff over time, and you have to stop in by a fire. It was cool that there was like the end of it, there was a boss fight where there's a fire in the middle, and you have to kind of check in with the fire every now and again while also fighting the boss around it. Cool.
And this one's this one is different than that one because it's like more you're still fighting Vex. I think you're probably gonna fight Vex on all of them. But it's a lot more like platforming, like you're way up in the air, and there's like Vex platforms that are disappearing and reappearing. You kind of have to like leap around them while you're fighting Vex, and taking them out to then destroy the little like Vex cubes that are like guarding like things you have to interact with. So it's pretty cool. So why don't we go check out the new area that opened up? Because
I've only seen it the one time.
Because
for the exotic quest.
Because I basically for this in particular we're going back because the Exo Stranger, who's also here on Europa, she's kind of your main person to talk to regarding like the new subclass, Stasis. Here we'll go in here real quick. So for Stasis, it's very different from kind of what you're used to if you've never seen this before with Destiny. I mean, it has all the same standard stuff. Like here's Warlock, so I have my Rift. I have your Rift and your different jumps, and here's your melee ability. And then there's new grenades. You unlock these grenades by doing her. She kind of gives you quests called Born into Darkness.
Yeah,
and you're kind of
really cool.
Yeah, they're really cool. Like you're basically kind of like going through the different playlists of Destiny. Like you're doing strikes, so you're doing Crucible, which is the PvP stuff. And you're basically just like do those, but with Stasis to use it in that mode. And then you come back to her and you run through a Lost Sector here, and you actually get like a kind of story moment at the end of each of those things, which are actually really good. Yes. So this one in particular we're gonna do is the fourth part, which unlocked after the raid opened because the new area in Europa itself opened up, called Creation, which is really cool. And And like you said, there's a new exotic quest that also takes you there for that sword. That's also really, really good.
Yeah, I haven't gotten it yet. Working toward it.
Yes, that sword is probably going to be the new like endgame weapon to use in all the endgame content. So I highly recommend getting it because it's real broken.
Close, I think.
It looks real broken.
Excellent.
I've been watching people already like one phase one of the bosses in the new raid with that already.
Excellent.
It's pretty wild.
I will have it on retainer. I've honestly been like nonstop using No Time to Explain. I don't know if you like that gun at all.
I used it kind of when I was playing early through the expansion, and I did get the I played through that and then got the catalyst with it. Got the catalyst. Yeah, it's pretty cool, but I just kind of ended up sticking with like a lot of the guns. I've been using this pulse rifle on my warlock pretty much since I've had it.
Yeah, which pulse? I was going to ask you.
That's
earlier.
this one. This one's the one from
Chattering Bone. Got it.
Yeah, it's from the Last Wish raid. This is the new auto rifle from Europa that you can get from Varix. Like once you one of the other sabotage things is he gives you weapon quests. So basically, once you unlock those, there's another tab to like Varix's vendor screen, and it basically just gives you a lineup of like, here's all of the new Europa weapons, like the pulse rifle from Europa, the machine gun, the bow, and then there's also the sidearm, which I don't have, and the auto rifle. And it's basically just like, hey, select this quest. You'll have to pay some of that currency, the Haraway pieces, but then you can just do like a few objectives, and it'll just get you this gun. And it seems really like it's the thing to like. I really like that because it's just a thing of like, hey, it lets you just farm for a good roll in this gun because you can see all the guns have different perks and abilities and stuff like that on there. This is just one I got because I'm still kind of leveling up, but I definitely want to roll for a better version of this auto rifle because I like it a lot. And then I have this grenade, which is also a new Europa grenade launcher for the season. Nice. I got it from Gambit. That's what this is from. So basically, there is one new weapon drop from each playlist. So strikes, there's like a special shotgun you can only get from playing strikes. This grenade launcher you can only get from Gambit. And then what was I'm blanking on? Oh, the other one's a pulse rifle that goes in your secondary slot that you can only get from Crucible.
Got it.
And those are all pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't like been super into a pulse rifle in a long time, so I'm happy with especially now that I've got the catalyst perk on it.
Yeah,
No Time to Explain. It's real sick.
Yeah. No Time to Explain is pretty good.
Just want you to know, Mike, I did notice the FOV.
Yeah, you did.
So I'm now upset.
It's much. Once it's one. I'm telling you, it's
soon.
That's soon. The next gen will be here on consoles.
December 8th, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, it really is a thing that you once you won't, as long as you're
playing a lot of Destiny, and it's like
yeah.
This is pretty tight. Like this is a little tight on my character right now.
Yeah. You don't have as much view as you think you do on that console.
Yeah. So I feel you.
So yeah, once you do, because it does bring you through. Like once you get here, there's some story missions. I told me to play something, but I don't know if I played something.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. There was a coin. Was it that coin that you just put there?
I don't think so.
No, yeah, there's no.
There is some collectibles you can put into the other little zones, which I have.
Yeah,
I've been
like
doing
the
that.
hand and stuff. I did that.
Yeah, and there's like some penguin souvenirs you can find.
Nice.
I've been putting those away.
Yeah, this was definitely like because you guys all or a lot of our like message that Mike and I talk Destiny in like our group chat is like a lot of you guys watched the raid, and I was like I'll not watch it and I'll decide later if I want to watch it. That was basically my turn.
That's
I'm
totally
undecided.
fair.
And I can always wait. So I had really no idea what was going on. So I jumped into Europa, and it's very much like it's so catastrophic that it can't be not mentioned, right? Like a satellite or a space station, it crashed or exploded. It's like I don't know what happened.
Yeah, there's a lot happens in the raid like that, like directly affects the planet. pretty much like how the Dreaming City works. Like how
Yeah.
like the raid happened and a curse broke out, and then like there's like taken stuff everywhere. In a similar sense, again, I don't want to full on spoil the events of a raid, but yes, there's a space station. There's now what it says it here, Europa Eclipse Zone explains it.
Yeah.
It's some debris rains down from the sky from a crash.
At the hands of Guardians.
Yeah,
I love
yeah, yep. And then basically now there's a zone that you go to, and there's like just like a bunch of weird stuff happening there. Like there's literal debris falling from the sky, so you can literally see it crashing into the planet if we go over here.
Your stasis powers recharge.
Yeah, you have like a stasis regen that charges faster. There's a bunch of little like scanner drones that are now all over the map now too, that have like to deal with collectibles and stuff and like lore and stuff.
Cool. It's but like when you boot up Destiny, it shows you like some concept art of what we're about to see down here, and I was like, boy, some whack shit must have happened.
Yeah, because that was the other part of it, was like the space station crashing and some other stuff that happened in the Deepstone Crypt, which is the name of the raid, awakened a thing that we're going to go down to and see.
Yeah, and it's cool.
Yeah, and we'll and I'll pretty much just it is. They kind of talk about it throughout the campaign, with a set of characters, which is the Stranger, and we'll get to it. I'll just because this will be a very specific scene in that continuation of the Born in Darkness kind of missions specifically.
Yeah.
So now this Born in Darkness. So as part of this mission, I had to come here, and now there's like you can see the evil pyramid, and now I got to do some Destiny and shoot some stuff.
As per usual. What was the quest line for? I don't know what part of Born in Darkness.
So this is Born in Darkness Part 4. So this is the last one in that, more or less. Because this is more or less like the part 4 opened up after the raid, because this area itself opened up.
Yeah.
So for it you had to.
I have the quest. I don't know what step I'm on. I think I might be on this step 2. I just haven't done it
yet. Yeah. The only really main thing it has you do is you go and do a bunch of Nightfall strikes.
Yeah, I did that already,
with stasis stuff, and then it tells you to come here, and then now since I took out that boss, now I have to go deeper in here, in creation, to bring the key to the Exo Stranger.
Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the step that I'm on as well, the platoon step. So now I get to see what happens.
Mm-hmm. So we go in here. I really wanted to show this area off because it's just like,
it's cool.
It's super cool, and it's like insanely massive for like just an area that's kind of like off on this planet. You're just kind of
like fully underground. It's like, where is this? Like, this is wild.
Yeah, it's
so aesthetically different than the rest of Europa.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
It's cool. I like there's not a ton of like future tech sci-fi environments in Destiny, right? Like.
Yeah, so I'm so happy they finally went there with it.
Yeah, totally, and especially like tying it all into Exos, which are like cyborg people basically, right? And the origins of them being as like dubious as it is, it's cool. It like adds a whole layer of like monkey paw to this whole place. Mm-hmm. Like, this place is beautiful, and utopia is like, well, actually,
you definitely delve into that of like, Europa was this golden age facility. Like, it's, I think, some people might like scoff at this, but I would say like this is like the most like, it feels like a BioShock. It feels like the BioShock area of a Destiny.
Sure, yeah.
Because like
when BioShock pre-fall,
yeah. Because like how you kind of like go to Rapture, and it's like after everything has happened and it's kind of destroyed and messed up, but then you hear all like the lore, and like there's all these audio logs about like how it's the greatest place and all this yada yada, and there's like a lot of that in this too, of like you come to Europa and it's like this golden age Mecca, and it's like where the robot people were created, but actually it turns out maybe how they were created was really horrible and messed up.
Yeah, super
'Cause-
bad.
And there's like a whole lot of lore that you get throughout this expansion. If you go and like, that you can find like exo bodies, which are like the robot people, like bodies all over Europa. And if you pick them up, they'll like give you stories of like them, like the people who were like, why they came to Europa, because of Clovis Bray, who's a big name in Destiny lore, and like why they came here off of his crazy machinations of like, hey, he's trying to find immortality and then he's doing that by turning people into robots, and we're going to be his test subjects. And it sounded like a good idea, but then you learned about them basically being test subjects and how kind of actually fucked up it was. Where he was trying to like messing with people's memories as they were robots, and like he gave some dude like fake memories, and then the dude like recognized that he had the fake memories, but he couldn't remove them because he's a robot, and it was like all kinds of stuff like that. And there's a whole lot of stuff. These are little scanner drones I was talking about earlier. They're just around, and I know how to do it, but it is like a little bit of a raid spoiler. So since I don't think you want to be spoiled.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's a mechanic in the raid that you learn.
Does it have to do with that screen and the fins?
Yeah. Yes. So there's a mechanic that you learn. It's basically like a Destiny mechanic where you pick up a buff.
Got it.
And then it lets you see things that you wouldn't normally be able to see without the buff. And now, because of the raid, there's a place you can find those buffs, since the raid has happened and opened up, and it shows you what you need to do with those little robots.
But it's like the same mechanic from the raid.
Yes, it's the same mechanic
cool.
it's the same
I've
mechanic.
never done it before.
Yeah, it's the same mechanic from the raid. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And and it shows you how to destroy those, and then you can interact with that little screen up there, and it'll give you like one of the triumphs collectibles, and it'll give you some lore. Like a new
have you done this all already?
A lore book. I haven't done any of it yet, but I was like looking up. I just kind of looked it up more or less, and kind of figured it out a little bit, because I saw the thing, because I already have watched the raid, and I saw a thing running around Europa and was like, oh, okay, that's the thing from the thing, so that probably has to do with something. And then like that was like kind of like one of the last threads, was I had no idea how those drones worked.
Yeah.
And so
I remember you mentioned that you were trying to figure something out.
Yeah, and I kind of just put two and two together of like, okay, those are the only things I know that I've not really messed with.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm not familiar. I definitely see those things. I will say, like, because you have to shoot them in that one heroic public event. I am like terrible at shooting those fuckers.
Yeah,
like,
they're tricky.
Elusive. I have to like take a full minute and like stare at them and then throw a grenade usually.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. Get some hot.
This place is so cool.
Glacial Starwort.
Anytime you're in like a red room in a future zone,
yeah,
it's
big
cool.
red room in a future zone. Yeah, the whole exotic quest for this is cool. Yes, and here we are. Here's our giant robot head. So this is kind of, again, we find out, once the raid was cleared, this place opened up, and like you said, you get a little cutscene kind of talking about this thing. Oh, look, he's here, by the way.
Oh.
Anna, you came back.
Continuation.
Yeah, well,
Robots.
it's not every day you reunite with your robot sister after the apocalypse.
He's got guards.
Mm-hmm.
And because I figured if you went to that much trouble to protect me, you must really care.
Oh, that's good.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been scared, Anna, about losing you again. I thought I was doing the right thing, keeping the truth from you.
All you need to do is be my sister, Elsie. Whatever truths we face,
Robots.
no matter
It's
how
the
tough,
robots.
I know the robots just walking around, the armed guards.
Better time than the present, then. You brought it?
I did.
Hell yeah. Let's boot this big robot up.
Let's boot this head up.
Confidential.
See, Mike, this is what I'm talking about. There's so much drama. I love
Yeah.
this drama.
There's some drama, all right.
Characters talking, like two characters that we know talking.
Yeah, they're all
in front of us.
Yeah, they're just hanging out here. Actually, it's really
It's
cool.
cool.
Of
course you would.
It's me.
Incredible.
I assume since you've made it this far, come from my research.
The size is definitely compensating.
Darkness and
Yeah, for sure.
this is
Should chill here, by the way.
for Elizabeth.
That's good.
I could never use it. Something tells me you can.
I can and will, but not
But
alone.
not alone.
We
Yay.
can all use it for good, to save
Save
humanity.
humanity.
No. What? It's not what it's for at all. It's for research, for legacy, for the brain.
Brain name only.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Why
nerd.
am I not surprised?
Yeah, you
Don't
freaking
get
dick.
holier than thou. Need I remind it was you who volunteered for Project Exo? You knew the brain name was at stake and you fought for it. Like your sister.
Ugh, pulling the dad shit.
Your father, all ungrateful and weak.
You were always a bastard, Clovis.
Yet, you stood beside me willingly, even into eternal life. I find you.
Mm-hmm.
What good did it
Jesus,
do?
dude.
I know. It's a lot of
What a
those.
drag
Save
this
me
guy
from
is.
Yeah, he
more
sucks.
like you.
Your naivete was always to be your downfall, Randy.
'Cause there's even more stuff going on with him.
And don't forget.
Yeah,
always
it
be
feels like
brave
it.
like me.
You know, Clovis was always problematic, but he used to have some humanity before he let the darkness take him.
Before he was a big lame-o.
Yeah,
Screw 'em.
big dumb robot
He
head.
can't control us anymore. Let's take this power and use it exactly like he doesn't want us to. For humanity.
Anna's right. We have what we came for. Time to take it to the ziggurat. Come find me after.
All right.
Yay.
As you can see, the sisters reunited.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, because again, the Braves have been excuse me. The Braves have always kind of been like a talking point in Destiny's lore. And Clovis Bray, who's now a big robot head AI in this facility.
God, I wish there was the rest of his body though. Did you look down? Did you look over the edge? Like, is
Yeah.
there like
Yeah,
a design for the rest? Because I did. I was like, man, if
Pretty
he just
nuts.
Iron Giant shows up at the end
Yeah.
of like whatever Lightfall,
uh-huh.
he's so cool.
And you can see he has like a bunch of lines and stuff.
yeah, I
you-
talked to him quite a bit.
Yeah, you can talk to him a little bit. I will say in particular, there's, since you have not done the whole exotic sword lament quest, there's a pretty big reveal at the end of that quest.
Ooh,
That I won't spoil for you.
that's exciting.
That pertains to some characters, Clovis and a character in the tower.
Oh, I know who it is because he's the person that starts the quest.
Yep.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
very exciting.
So yeah, there's stuff with him, and once you do that quest, and then like complete it and get the sword, you can come back here, and he'll have another like dialogue exchange with you about like what's going on with that, and it's pretty interesting for sure.
It's good to know because that's definitely been a mystery point in Destiny for a while. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, everything with like just going to a place and seeing a giant robot head is such a cool thing to do.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see that. So let's go down here and we'll go meet with.
In much like to harken back to Forsaken, it reminds me of like going and seeing Marasov and be like, oh shit, she's here. Like,
Yeah,
we're
she's here. She's here and she's okay and she's talking to us.
Yeah, and we're in like a cool space zone,
Mm-hmm. So we finished part 4.
Yay.
Return to so let's go to the Risk Reborn approach. This is one thing the only thing I don't like about Europa is there's a lot. You're driving a lot. I want to
Yeah.
go here and do this final fight here because that will get me my second aspect for my warlock.
Hell yeah. I don't know what the like the aspect is yet, so
Oh,
I assume you've got it on your other characters, so
I've got it. I've gotten my second one on my hunter, but I haven't gotten on my Titan yet. The hunter ones, the hunter one gives you the first like it's called Shattered Hive, and it's like if you're up in the air, you can hold B, and the hunter just like slams down in a direction and makes like a big like AoE kind of like burst, like kind of like what the Warlock does for its super.
Yeah.
Not as like big as the Warlock one, but it's like a similar concept of like when you slams into the ground, it makes that pulse and then shatters any of the ice or enemies in it. So it's pretty fun. The second aspect you get when you do a dodge, it slows nearby enemies when you do a dodge with like it's like ice slows them.
That's cool.
Yeah,
The Warlock one is so good.
yeah, it does that constant chain of stuff.
The chain freezing, and it's just so clutch. And
Yeah.
it makes sense for like the Warlock. They feel like the setup character, you know, for like
Yeah.
a Titan or something.
Yeah, I was going to say like the Warlock is definitely overall like in terms of stasis is like right now like the most stacked because like they get that ability, they get this second ability that we're about to get, and like compared to the other classes who can slot in the fragments, which are kind of like passive abilities for all your stasis powers. I think like the Warlock comes away with like being able to slot in 3 total. And I think like the Titan or something can only slot in like 1 or something.
Oh no.
Like it's kind of a weird juxtaposition with some of them, which like granted like the one I have for the Titan is pretty good in that he you can basically like slide into ice or frozen enemies and it like shatters and explodes them, and he has like a way bigger like longer slide compared to like a basic one. That's cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I definitely think there should be a third fast travel point in like the
Yeah.
north section of Europa. It's weird that there's not.
Yeah, there definitely should be one somewhere.
But you
cool.
get around relatively quick, you know, in the same way like the Dreaming City only had that one point ever, which was a bummer, but you get around that place
Yeah,
pretty quick.
100%. It's fine. It works out how it is. Let me see what other weapons I have, just to show off other weapons. We'll throw this machine gun on because they specifically today they did one thing which was kind of like a gripe I had, and still a little bit. Is that I think they were kind of a little too harsh with like what they sunsetted, namely in like weapons and armor. And like, I know people can make the argument for armor that is basically like, well, they're probably within by like, you know, next you know, spring or summer time, they're already talking about bringing transmog fully into the game, so you can just do it with any weapon or armor you own. So like, yeah, like once that comes in, like having a bunch of armor to select from won't really be an issue. But as it stands now, like there's not a lot of that to chase, and that's kind of one of the aspects I like of Destiny is like, yes, doing the grind and upgrading and getting cool weapons, but also I like to like once my character's upgraded, I like to like have like a cool look, like
Yeah.
you know, like find the armor sets and all the other stuff that I like. Piece I like, put cool shaders on them, put stuff and like have them look cool.
Yeah, it's part of like the end game, you know.
Yeah, and there's just like not a lot of armor this time around. And I would have said that about guns too, but they just with today was reset day that we're recording this. They just had a patch and they basically put the last 2 seasons worth of guns back into the loot pool.
Whoa.
And they're just
that's nice.
yeah, and they're just guns that drop like world drops. So like if an enemy drops like a purple or a blue, when they're mostly purple, they could just be that gun. And then like a lot of those guns are also like really good from the last 2 seasons. This heavy machine gun is one of them. It was from the season of the Worthy, which was a kind of bad season overall for content. A lot of people think. But they added in these mods that are called War Mine Cell mods, and basically they're like a whole new kind of like mechanic, where you're basically like when you defeat enemies, they can spawn these War Mine cells. Yeah, that's the one I need. Is it in that room? Yeah, it's in that room. Where they can drop war mines. They drop these War Mine cells that you can shoot. They're like these big orange kind of orbs that can drop.
I think I remember this, yeah.
Yeah, and they basically from those you can, you know, depending on the mod you pick, they can kind of proc any kind of abilities. Or sometimes it's just like it does insane, massive amounts of AoE damage and can like clear entire rooms of ads and stuff, and it's like really nuts. to like other stuff like, hey, it'll pop everyone's super abilities or drop a bunch of ammo or do a bunch of this or that. There's like a whole bunch of like different war mine cell builds you can make, but those war mine cells only work with those mods, and they only work with 7 Seraph guns, which came from that season.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a couple of those mods.
Yeah. So that's a pretty nice add. So now people can. I think you can already get those mods from like the gunsmith and stuff, but it was kind of hard to come by those weapons if you couldn't,
Get them in a reasonable drop. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that they've put all those guns back in the loophole, they've now made it much easier to pick up these guns.
I will say, just to throw a compliment though for your look at these armbands. I'm a big fan. There's a lot of gold going on.
Oh yeah, this is like one exotic that like I like that I pretty much have always been using, and it gives me those 2 melees.
Got it.
It's the claw. What is it? Claws of Ahamkara. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do have those. Yeah, I guess with stasis, like I like there's very few warlock melees I actually really like. The new one that they added, the ranged one is cool, and stasis is kind of similar. So
yeah, because that's basically what I've always ever used it for is the ranged. Because normally before stasis I ran the middle tree arc, which is like the laser beam super warlock. Yeah. And they had a ranged melee on that, so I really liked that, like ranged lightning bolt melee.
Yeah, that one is really good. I just always love the well. I just love being a healer.
Yeah, the well's still really good.
It's just something that's always going to be useful, and it lets me help a team that I'm probably not good enough for. So that's how I balanced out. But yeah, have you been just enjoying stasis on the hunter, just in general?
It's really good. I think the melee super fun because they have 2 by default, and it's like a little like ninja star, basically ice ninja star that kind of ricochets around a little bit, and it basically it can take out most like basic fodder enemies. And then on like some of the bigger enemies, you won't really take them out, but it'll put like a slowing effect on them.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then their super is pretty good for like mainly like it's mainly just like good for like an initial like, hey, you walk into a room and a bunch of enemies spawn, or like a boss and a bunch of enemies spawn, and just hurl it into them because he basically throws 2 like big ice pickaxes. The first one drops like a big like kind of it's basically like a bigger version of the grenade I have, which I'll throw it here, and it makes like a little big like dome of slowing freeze there. If the dude goes into it, just kind of slows him and slowly freezes him. It just makes like a much bigger version of that, the first pickaxe, and the second, and it also has like an instant freeze more or less, like when it first hits. Oh boy, here's an overload guy.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just gonna super. Yep, that works. Bye.
It's super effective.
Yep, it should be.
Yeah, I mean we're seeing the warlock in front of us now, but that's what I play, and it's just great.
Yeah, you can see that super is very effective.
You feel more like the concept of what I think of as a warlock.
Yeah, like definitely some
in a cool way.
Some crazy wizard powers. But yeah, the hunter, like, yeah, basically that first pickaxe he throws makes that big kind of field of stasis that freezes dudes in it. Then the second one he throws, well, basically if it hits an enemy on impact, it'll instantly shatter them. And then it just makes like a little tornado of like ice, and it just like, and it'll just kind of go around. Like it doesn't really, like you can't really like kind of choose where it goes, so to speak, or like direct it. It just kind of like goes around and stays out for quite a while. And like that thing's actually kind of nuts in PvP and Crucible actually, because like people can just throw that out and they'll like throw it like on one of those control zones, and it'll just kind of hang out there for a while. And you're just like, well, okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Not doing much about that. So yeah,
Frost Pulse.
Kind of Frost Pulse, the second aspect here. Casting your rift generates a shockwave that freezes nearby combatants. There you go.
Whoa, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Let's go. We can go test that out. So it's actually not even 3. I have freaking 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say because the first one gives you 3 slots.
Yeah, so now I just have all 4 of these. And
What are you rolling with? Just I'm curious.
I mean, this
Which
I have.
ones you got.
I have all the 4 I have, so I can put all of them in.
No, I mean like the fragments that you got.
Oh, so the first one I have is gain a bonus weapon damage after freezing a target.
Okay,
Defeating slowed or frozen targets grants your class ability energy.
I got that one. Yep.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Increases the damage and size of the burst of your stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal.
Got that one too.
And then shattering stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate.
Yeah, those are the 3 on the right are the 3 I'm rolling with right
Yeah,
now.
they're
I
all-
haven't gotten the 4th one yet, but
Yeah. And they're all pretty effective. And then I have the Dusk Field
that's good.
Grenade, which is like a
always
big
the best.
AoE
It's basically
slow.
like the solar grenades from the Dawn class and it's what I always use. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
So
ice instead of fire.
we can go talk to her real quick. She's flashing.
Yeah.
And then we'll go test this real quick, and then we'll call it. I
Do you
think.
want to? Do you want? We can go test it by maybe jumping over to the Crow, just to show.
Oh
if this
yeah,
is-
yeah.
Just wanted
Good
to
point.
say thank you for so much. Most of all, helping me reunite with
We
my
prevented
sister.
the dark future, maybe.
In the dark future.
Yeah, we'll
I was
see.
tempted.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's also I will say like
From now on, she can count.
I'm sure Bife will probably in a few weeks have a very good video on it. But there's a lore book that you get from doing these like Born to Darkness quests. That is like basically from her telling you about what happens in the dark future, and it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, I've read a little bit of it, and it's
Yeah,
it's wild.
yeah, it's real. There's some really cool lore in this expansion.
The
From
I'll
that-
explain later payoff has been good.
Yeah, there's that.
From
There's
Destin One Heads.
there's another book you get that is like basically the stranger writing notes to everyone in the current
Yes.
in the current timeline to be like, hey, you know, I know you don't trust stasis, but let me tell you kind of why you need to start figuring it out. And she's writing to like everybody. She writes it once to Zavala and Ikora and a bunch of the other characters in Destiny, and even writes one of the later ones is to the Witch Queen to done.
Oh yeah, I saw the heading for that one. I didn't read it yet though.
Yeah, that there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, sure. But yeah, like you said, like we talked about earlier, the seasonal content, which is technically separate from Beyond Light, the season of the hunt has started. And that's a season. And the amazing thing about the current seasonal content and the whole reason they like we talked about up front for the vaulting of all this old content was so that when they are adding this new content in, they can keep it around for much longer than they did last year, because there were whole seasons of Destiny that kind of happened within like 3-4 months and then they were just out of the game.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of content, people including us and probably plenty of other people who missed stuff. So now we've started this story with the Crow, and he's basically become the sideman to the Spider, and you are basically going around hunting these people who have basically been like mind controlled by a crazy hive god, and you have to basically lure them out and fight them. And to do that, you need to get this cryptolith lore, which you get from the you kind of do like an initial story quest with the Crow, and you kind of get the setup for everything that I'm explaining here, and then you start doing this stuff. So basically, how this works is first we're choosing a boss to go after, one of the hunts to go after. So I have two fallen bosses and 2 hive bosses. And you'll see here package contents that shows like basically what you're getting out of what you want. So if you want more lure mods, Blast Batu is the new grenade launcher for this season. Recon data is the seasonal currency that basically like once you get this currency, you can take it back to the Crow and turn it in to upgrade the lore so you get more perks on it, and you also upgrade to get like packages of new weapons and stuff. And then Deafening Whisper is the little secondary hand grenade launcher. So we'll just do this one and go after HKD1, this boss. So from here, you're basically getting like mutation slots from here. And depending on what you select, it can be different things. So since I picked recon data as it was, I don't have too many selections. I just have this one, which basically gives me increased recon data from the mission. But if I were to pick a weapon, one like this weapon one here let's do it because I can swap around before I put in other mods. You can see I can basically like kind of modify the weapon in a way I want it. So like if I want to be able to masterwork the handling or the reload speed of a weapon, I can do that by slotting in these mods. And I can also do these veto mods, which basically let you say like, hey, these are guaranteed perks to be on it. One of these 4 perks could be on it, but we're going to take these 2 perks out of that to potentially get that. So you can kind of like, narrow the field of perks. And this one's like a similar thing where like you get more like basically you can basically like limit like what perks you can get on a gun basically. We're gonna stick with recon data because I'd rather do that for now.
If I could guarantee full auto trigger system on every pulse rifle, I would do it.
Yeah, there's a scout rifle that's a new scout rifle. I think I actually have that one. Yeah, this guy Royal Chase, and that's one of those auto loading holster, and I have Dragonfly on that, which I like. Nice. But you can get full auto trigger on that scout rifle too.
Nice. That's the best. Feels good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So
part of why I like No Time to Explain so much is the full auto.
Yeah, you can just drop it. So yeah, we slot in those mods, and as you can see, then it puts this little icon here, Hunt for the Wrathborn. So we'll go do that real quick.
These are pretty cool. Like I appreciate them, doing something different with it.
Yeah, like we'll see in a second, but they almost feel like Monster Hunter Light.
Yeah,
with how they kind of set up. And like most seasonal content, they usually have kind of one drop of stuff at the start of the season, of course, and then they usually kind of like mid-season have like another kind of drop of like. So I'm assuming we're probably gonna get more like that drop will probably be like more bosses to choose from, and maybe other zones we can go to via that. Would be my guess at least. So I'm just gonna ignore all these dudes. Grab this chest.
I really appreciate the new mods for the ghost that
yes,
let you just see stuff.
My sparrow.
And
yes,
stuff.
there's really nice quality of life with the ghost mods that you can basically mod your ghost like you can your guns now. And you can see I immediately put them up to 10 because they all have really good mods in these. So this makes it so it detects caches and like the resources, planetary resources. Yeah. Then I have like make it so I get additional resources. I actually might change that to Glimmer though, because I'm like constantly low on Glimmer now that I'm like upgrading again. And mainly once you masterwork it, why I recommend always going these 10 are these last mods. These ones are like crazy good. In some regards.
I finally bumped mine up, and it's like, oh yeah, and it doesn't take an ascendant shard or anything.
It's like
low commitment.
Yeah, because these are straight up like the one I have in here is Vanguard playlist strikes and Nightfall strikes have a chance to award extra destination material, but there's also like there's basically for all of the playlists. Like if you're playing Crucible and want to get more like destination materials or get like extra pieces of armor and gear from drops. From these, like those are all mods you can get for them, and that's pretty awesome. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a cool change.
Yeah,
it helps a lot.
Yeah, but here's the cryptolith thing, the creepy hive. Structure. I'm gonna drop my lore. Then
Zivu Wrath just can't resist sending in those monsters.
Yeah. Yeah,
I love that. It's just so very different for Destiny. It is so Monster Hunter, it's like so inspired or just different. It's cool. It's fun. It's like a fun mechanic instead of like, all right, let's just go through this 6 different rooms or whatever over and over again, which is also fun. But this is just different for Destiny, you know.
Yeah. It's definitely like a little bit of a like you said, it's like a different cadence for sure. Of you're still shooting dudes. It's like that's always going to be Destiny. Oh, you just dropped an exotic. Cool. All right, so then this little guy spawns, and I begin tracking. As you can see, I start getting these weird green goo spots
there
on the
was
ground.
definitely a moment where I like this happened. And I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah, you're just like,
I'm
what now?
Stupid.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, like they're going in a direction.
Yeah, and you basically just follow these. Yeah, there's definitely that reaction, right? Of like, because you're so used to Destiny, just like, oh, there's a marker, here I go.
Exactly.
Here
like, where do I go? It's like, oh no, you gotta kind of follow.
Yeah,
it.
you gotta follow these things until you get the little marker here. I've already done these a handful of times because once you do some initial ones, you can see he starts giving a pinnacle reward for doing 5 each week. So like once I saw that he was giving pinnacle, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do these all now because I would like that.
I gotta do this now.
Yep. So I did a bunch of them last week.
I only did the tutorial one, and again, I didn't not do it because I like wasn't playing Destiny. I was just like doing a bunch of shit on Europa.
yeah, because like a whole ass expansion dropped plus this dropped within like 2 weeks. These 2 weeks. Oh, it's weird this way.
And I'm like more currently invested in like I want to get all the stasis stuff that I can get, and then I will do all the activities to while I'm all souped up and as strong as I can be to grind up my level and stuff.
Totally.
Which like it's super helpful, like having like the slow, because there's a lot of stasis challenges that are like killed 50 slowed enemies. And it's like without those grenades, the slow grenades. It's really hard to do that.
It can be tough. Because they're definitely more some of those things are definitely more suited for certain stasis abilities.
Yeah, classes, you know.
Yeah. Once we get to that tracker thing, it takes us to that little thing. I interact with it, and now I'm basically just like kind of like in this little.
Now we start the quest.
Yeah, now we're basically going to fight some fools.
So I interpreted it as like you're killing like servants of the thing that you're hunting in order to lure out the thing that you're hunting.
Yeah, you're basically taking you're taking out a little henchman. I think it's supposed to be like the whole crux of this is Shivu Arath, who is like a big hive, who's like one of the OG 3 like hive gods alongside Oryx and Savathun. Is basically kind of like figuring like she's kind of now coming into the fold and like starting to amass an army, and they kind of go into like some of that stuff in some of the lore and stuff, and she's amassing an army for like not what you would expect. Actually, it's kind of interesting. They go into the lore about like how like there's actually like a big divide between actual hive. And there's some people and there's some hive that are listening to Shivu Arath, but there's also some hive that are kind of on Savathun's side. So Shivu Arath is essentially like, from some of the events of last season where we kind of like put Savathun into hiding. Shivu Arath is kind of taking the kind of moment to try and take power for herself. So now she is going around and like using I'm gonna die while I'm explaining things, talking about lore. Basically she is now trying to mind control all the different races with these crazy big structures here to amass an army to basically kind of take back control of the hive leadership.
Yeah, anyone that's been watching this knows my favorite thing is the drama.
Yeah,
and it's great. Different hive factions, different fallen factions. It's like there's a lot of that in it's becoming way less black and white. And very intentionally so. Sometimes it's like maybe the darkness isn't all bad, but sometimes it's also like, well, there's these fallen. Like I kind of feel for Aramis. When you play the story, it's like I get it.
Yeah, she's been. Yeah, her people have been like ruined
Yeah, they're the fallen because the traveler left them, you know, for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I do get it. So, yeah, I like all the gray area stuff. Even in the hive, you know, even in this, like...
Yeah, that definitely seems like where they're kind of going with it for sure. Like, you know, who's, you know... They're making the right choice by having these different hive... There, alright, so when I take that guy out, that he drops this buff, now I can start damaging this boss.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to mess him up with my big machine gun.
Drop your rift. You gotta use that new power.
Oh yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right. Yeah, I'll use it right now.
Yeah, freeze this guy.
Boom! There it is.
So cool.
That's pretty dope. Yeah.
It's really cool. That like just makes that move so much more practically useful, you know? Just drop yourself in the middle of chaos, drop the rift.
Just find the right point and just drop it on a bunch of fools and like boom.
And then you're healing and also destroying them. That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh gosh, quickly reload.
I know what I'm doing after we finish this.
Going and getting that aspect.
Go and get that aspect.
And yeah, overall I really like that new update to the subclass. I'm just hoping that like it does not take super long to
get the next one.
To either get that new one. Well, the new one, if we get an entirely new one, my guess is it would probably be next year's expansion. I more so would want to see the older subclasses get revamped with this.
Yeah, with this whole system would be really cool.
With this system,
had that thought.
And like
the UI is it's really cool. I think it's like just a cool way to do it.
Yeah, and I'm just very curious how they would do that. And I'm hoping they could do it in a way that like would not take it. So it's like, all right, we'll start doing these changes, but maybe you won't see them also to maybe in another expansion or even beyond that.
Yeah, I hope it's something that they can. It seems like they can give new aspects and stuff throughout the season and stuff. And
yeah, I definitely see that happening too, of us getting new aspects and fragments.
That's a hunt done.
Boom, got a
pretty
hunt.
Quick, which is nice.
Yeah, they're pretty easy because they're definitely lower level when you come in. Like if you've been playing Beyond Light, that expansion in particular, most of their recommended power are actually like below a lot of the like end game stuff in Beyond Light, so it's pretty easy. But if you can, there are certain like web mods. There are certain mods if you slot them in though, like the mutations specifically, that'll make it like a higher tier difficulty.
Cool.
Depending on like what that is.
With better rewards, I assume.
Yeah, like basically like it is tied to some of those specific mods that have like better output of like, hey, you're guaranteeing this specific thing for this weapon or whatever. And that'll bump it up to a tier. That'll bump it up to like a level 2 difficulty for the hunt. And it's like not that dramatically different. It's still like, you know, in a similar power range. Like I've already done some of them, and it definitely is a little more challenging, but it's not as like, oh gosh, it doesn't. Yeah, they aren't like dropping like crazy enemies on you. It's still kind of the same thing.
Cool.
But let's go see the crow.
Yeah, it was cool having like a whole new little wing over here.
Yeah, here he is.
In all of his
feels like it never ends.
Glory.
Yep, continue completing them, and then you can see he has a bunch of stuff. So you can get specific mods from him if you want, and buy him with Glimmer. I've already gotten all of the upgrades for him.
Yeah, I got to do that real bad.
So. He has his own set of bounties if you want to chase that XP. And then you can turn in this, like I said, you can turn in recon data. Boom! I got a 1245 hood. It's pretty good.
Good drops too, right? Like,
yeah, I think once you get the there's one in here. Which one is it? Yeah, there you go. This is the amount of weekly and powerful Wrathborn rewards increase like as you do these things.
From 2 to 4 powerful rewards is pretty dope.
Yeah, so you can definitely get a lot of really good powerful stuff from him. So that was probably all pretty good stuff. Let's see. Well, that was 1045. I'll still hold on to that though. let's.
Yeah, I don't know where your gear's at right now. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm
pretty high
12.
for
I'm
me.
1247 is my base power.
Got it.
That's on my warlock here. Then I have plus 14, which you get from this this guy here.
Yeah, I think I'm like 12, 14 base power with a plus 8, I think, or plus 6.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking my time.
Yeah, so,
You know,
so he has like his
playing a lot of
whole,
games.
he has his whole other set of guns. Here's the fusion rifle that you can get from him. I got another pulse rifle.
It's a good looking fusion rifle too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't think threat detector increased visibility handling when enemies are in close proximity. I don't really know if that's. That one has not good reload, which I don't want. So bye. And yeah, that's I got most stuff. Here's some weapons that just came in, like Cold Denial was from, and this Whispering Slab bow were weapons from the last season, the season of Arrivals. So they brought those back, so now you can get those. And this Cold Denial pulse rifle is really good.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that's Destiny. We got a lot here.
Yeah, we knew this was gonna be a chunky one. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be a chunky one, and there's a lot of
so
talk.
much you could do, you know.
Yeah,
legitimately, like Mike, you've already done on this character a lot of the other stasis specific quests, but like those fragments, there's 2 quests you can get a week for that, and I think there's 8 total to get, or whatever, 6. Or 8.
there's a bunch of those to get. There's of course a bunch of seasonal stuff, all the sabotage
First aspects, all that's after the campaign too, you know.
Yeah, like this is a pretty big expansion. Surprisingly so from how they've they had to work from home and make all this and a lot of this, and they pushed it back a couple months, and I think overall it was well worth them taking their time and figuring it out, because it's been pretty fun and it's been pretty good. But I definitely think there will, with all Destiny stuff, I think that we will hit a point where it's like, all right, I can take a break now.
Yeah, what's next?
Because
maybe we can take a break until all that stuff is eventually there.
Yeah, and we'll see. I'm looking forward to it.
They're doing a great job. I think this big change with stasis to the world. I think it's been super fun to see it.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. My review, I will have a video review soon enough for this game. But I also wanted to just get this out here because there's a lot to cover with this game.
Yeah. And
it's also kind of like always changing. So I was trying to figure out like what's a good way to like just try and show off everything. So I hope people got something out of this, because I feel like I was just talking a lot, but
no, this is great. This is fun. I have enjoyed talking about Destiny again. So
excellent. Well, I think that'll do it for Destiny now. Look forward. We'll holidays are near, but we'll probably be streaming a raid their raid at some point.
Yeah, at some point I would very much get the family back together.
Squad
to see what kind of wackiness we can get into.
Yeah, and it should be a nicer stroll, because I'm pretty up there, and I'm a part of a nice giant bomb clan, and I'm probably gonna be running with them. Start running it with them pretty soon here.
Yeah, we will have multiple experienced players on there
So,
that have done it, you included. So it'll be a fun time, I think.
Yeah, so it won't be us over 8 to 10 hours. Over multiple weekends.
Well, I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We can still end up being that. So, some of us, namely me, are not that great at Destiny. So we'll see.
Yeah, I will say like the raid, at least from what I've seen, is not complex as the Last Wish was. To be fair,
thank God.
So,
Last Wish, it's an achievement to have finished it. And I'm proud to have said.
Yeah, especially since it was a legit version of the raid, where like. I think it would be one of those things where if you looked up how that raid is done now, you would be very
Yeah,
upset.
no, I've seen it.
Because it's
Bummer.
because you can, it's most of the bosses in that raid, like you can one shot with like, or like one phase with like most of like the base weapons and like a lot of standard weapons that you can get now from anywhere. But anyway, Destiny.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Yeah, thanks
for
everyone.
Showing me Destiny, Mike.
Anytime. Let's take it out here where we keep on chilling.
Take a sip.